Welcome to Classic Game Room, broadcasting from the Intergalactic Space Arcade, and those of us who love arcade games are familiar with Williams' greatest arcade hits, but what about Williams' worstest arcade hits? I've got that right here. It's called Williams Arcade Classics on the Gamecom. Games that originally were really good, but completely suck on the Gamecom. How do you screw up Robotron 2084, Joust, Defender, Defender 2, and Sinistar? By putting them on the Gamecom, of course. Like most Gamecom games available on the Tiger Gamecom, the box and game cartridge look nice. And the menu interface is actually pretty interesting. Like the Nintendo DS, you can start the game with the stylus and touch screen display. But that's where anything good ends. Williams Arcade Classics on the Gamecom is where fun goes to be tortured and eventually die slowly, screaming in a dungeon with a terrible black and white screen. When looking at archaic handheld game consoles, if the Game Boy was designed by the Romans, the Gamecom was developed by a bunch of drunk cavemen being eaten by tigers. Defender is probably the best game on here, and it should be noted that the Atari 2600 version hands the Gamecom its own ass. Because oddly enough, the 2600 never had a problem with motion. You can literally play your Defender game cartridge on a 1970s-era Atari 2600 plugged into a 1950s-era black and white television, and it will look and play better than this. I do like their arcade machine menu interface, which is kind of neat, and let's check out Defender 2, which is known as Stargate on the Atari. Defender 2 is pretty similar to Defender 1. Here's a look at Sinistar, which I'm actually not that familiar with. I'm going to eventually review the arcade machine. But the real atrocity here, the thing that makes tears well up in my eyes, is what they've done with Robotron 2084. This horrible abomination is unspeakably awful, and now you'll never be able to unsee it. It's etched into your brain for all times, thanks to the Gamecom and Classic Game Room. This defies logic. I would love to be able to go back in time to when the Gamecom was new in the late 90s or 2000 and see the expression on people's faces when they play this, expecting to see something that resembles anything that looks like Robotron. Come on. It looks terrible. It's impossible to tell the humans from the robots. I think you can only have a few shots on screen at the same time, and the controls are horrible. The only redeeming quality that this game and the Gamecom have is that they're an important piece of history, and those who forget history are bound to repeat it, and accidentally buy a Gamecom thinking they're buying the website owned by Hasbro. Yet, hold on to your seat for this one. This is a glowing, positive review compared to the one that Indy 500 on the Gamecom is getting. You should buy 5,000 copies of Williams Arcade Classics before you spend 1 minute playing Indy 500, provided somebody pays you to take those 5,000 copies and burn them in space, because it's bad for the environment. After all, the Gamecom is built out of fear extracted from puppies. The Gamecom and this game were donated to the show by our friend Chip in Alabama, so thanks again, Chip, for not letting people forget history or the Gamecom. That's right, and everybody knows the old saying, friends don't let friends let their friends let their other friends let their enemies watch their friends play Gamecom.